welcome everybody. It's a late night recording, and we have everybody. We have Chaitanya, Babulnath wearing earphones, and Ameya on the podcast. So today I am introducing a topic, and it's very specifically and focused. I think then it's got a lot of space for talking everything which is not factual. So I will let everyone rip. I'll just lay the context very quickly. I was thinking about the Independence Day. It's coming up on 15th August, just close by, not very far. And I was thinking that, it is technically what 40, 58 years no, sorry, 78 years of independence. The only point is that that is the years, but it is 78 years of independence. I was thinking from whom? Ostensibly, it has always been that we understood that we got independence from the British, that had some dominion over us for going on 200 years in different ways with all the permutation combinations. And they left, uh, sort of made a ceremony of handing over power to Indian government and all of that. But I thought that actually, when my point that I wanted to bring up here was that it is the country which is not first, which was not even one Sanyukt Rashtra, actually, at all, at any stage before that. Two, it is at the same time, it is not something that the British could give. It was already a country in that sense, a land, a people for at least 5,000 years. And the other part of this was we had consistently different people who could say they had dominion over this landmass and its people at different stages, at least about 1,000 years. Not exactly Sayukta, but still, it was about rulers, and still there were rulers in every part of the country. And two things happened, according to me, uh, on 15th August 1947, which is well beyond the British. They are just a footnote on a very long history of things that happened. One, that it was also um, maybe the immediate past, which is the Mughals, and then before that, the Delhi Sultanate, and before that, all the different rulers. There was a change, that there was a larger population, a majority that finally felt free, that they did not no longer were under uh, that ruler or that ruling, dispensation. And second, it was also that for the first time, there were no rulers. You had to do self-governing or self-rule. And especially for a country that that didn't have that or doesn't know what that is for such a long time, it is a massive shift over. So too many things happened at the same time, which is unlike probably other countries that went through this colonialism change and all of that. And at the same time, uh, there is an identity that the Indians had, which was still India and Bharatiya in some fashion for a longer period of time. So I thought it was significant to speak about the fact that it's not, we always look at independence as independence only from these white people, but it's actually much more than that. And I think that has never fully been understood or accepted by people of the country, that we didn't only get independence from these guys. But that is just what I wanted to explore a little bit more. I have some more points, but that is my whole context that I wanted to speak in and under today. So, Babla, you wanted to take a shot? Go ahead.
No, I raised my hand accidentally. I was trying to.
Okay. But now that you have, you might as well
Hey,
speak. Go ahead.
so the point is freedom, which you raised, right? So,
Independence, very different from freedom.
I prepared for freedom, yes.
Okay, fine. Take it. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
So, as I see it, uh, freedom, what everybody tries for is freedom, independence as an external freedom, okay? As a
Hmm.
financial freedom, as a freedom of forming a union, demonstration, then the constitution gives you specific articles like article 19 to 23, I think. So, and 25, 26, 29, 28, 20. So these are concerned with the freedom of the individual or Indian citizen. Okay. Uh, but are we actually free? That we have to check first. Okay. So, if you notice some funny things, it's like the principles are already there on paper. But do we follow any of those principles? No. We have rule of might and huge manipulation on which is actually happening, and that's in fact correct. As might is right is how nature operates. Nature doesn't have all these rules, and that's how the whole thing flows. Like obviously, you will have then people just running for power so that they can execute whatever they want, whichever way they want, and that's what we are seeing now, spilling on the street. Okay, which is completely uh, going against what the constitution gives as a right. Okay, but that's not the point here. The point is the actual freedom. So, but we can debate on this point first, the external freedoms first, and then we can deep dive. So, yeah, this first point. If
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. So I'm going to try and take off from where Chandrakeshwar stopped, and I'm going to try and summarize some of it, and then I'm going to come to what you said, Babul. First, looking at it from an independence perspective and what it means to us, and two, when you talk about freedom, freedom from what? Okay. First and foremost, it is important for us to understand. Okay, and this comes back to what Chanakesha started off his conversation saying. Before 1947, there was probably no India, and to that I take great offense. Okay, because your constitution starts off with the line India, that is Bharat. Okay, what is Bharat? Bharat has a reference all the way back into the Rig Vedas, which is over 5 to 10,000 years. Even in some other books, you'll see the land from Himalayas all the way down to the Indian Ocean is known as Bharat. Bharatiyas were a tribe in northern India, all right, wherein you had the battle for the 10 kings and stuff like that, and which came about uh, how we all started to be get called Bharat and Bharatiya and people of Bharat. Even the land south of the Hindu Kush and west of the Indus was a land of Hindu and Hindustan, even later on in history. There have been kings and kingdoms all over India, but the fundamental tenets of being a Hindu and being a Bharatiya were never lost. Okay, you were conquered and colonized first by the Mughals, all right, liberated by the Marathas, and recaptured by the British. Some places in the this thing. You after post World War II, it became extremely difficult for the British to keep control because on one side you had Subhash Chandra Bose, the other side you had the mutiny of the navy in Gujarat, Karachi. All right. Third side you had soldiers of the Indian Army, British Indian Army, actually going and joining the Indian National Army. Okay, they knew they could not control this for too long. So first, I don't give credit to Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru or the Congress party for anything in the independence struggle. Okay. It was this violent movement that they knew they could not control because of World War II. So they had to get rid of it. They got rid of it in the most sharp-shoddy way, like they did in all over the place, drawing lines, imaginary lines, which basically were only in their head. What they thought, they did not take into consideration a lot of things, and they formed a state called India. Okay. In 1947, also they handed over power not to an elected government, by the way. Okay, they handed over power to the Congress party, naming Jawaharlal Nehru as the first prime minister. Okay, this is from where the first problems start with your identity and with your concept of freedom. You did not truly become a nation and a republic till you formed a constitution. When you became, which was in I think 1955 or something like that, you became the Republic of India. So the rights 50, yeah, 50. Okay, you became a republic then. When you framed your constitution and said, these are the laws I will be governed by as a people, and you brought all these states and territories under one rule of law, which neither the Mughals could do, nor could the Marathas, nor could the Guptas, nor could the Mauryas. Nobody had ever brought all of this under one control. It was only the constitution that did it. Now, constituently, if you ask yourself this question, who did we get independence from? Okay, we were given our right to self rule in 1947. We gave ourselves an independence from historical bonds in 1950 by drafting the constitution. Okay, I'm just trying to get into technicalities. Your democratic system, your first vote pass system, which is there where the maximum number of votes wins, which you call mob rule. All right, these are all tenets that you agreed to when you framed a constitution. Okay, but even in your constitution you have two parts to it. You have a Rajya Sabha and you have a Lok Sabha, people of House of Commons and a House of Lords, which is built on the British parliamentary system still. Okay, so if you look at the people who get nominated by the president to the parliament, these are people who are going to hold the elected governments to question. It's supposed to be a counterbalance. Doesn't really work that way, because if you control both the houses, the same political party, you can push a lot of things through, which again, in your definition, comes down to mob rule. But the bigger problem is participative democracy, and that is what you want to see. Okay, but for that you have to be willing to get your hands dirty, which 90% of the public who are talking are not willing to. Okay, in one state you have a chief minister who's protesting against the government in her own state when she is responsible for law and order. In other state you have got a completely diametric opposite, who's as you said, in Madhya Pradesh there is zero unemployed. They are all aspirational youth. So you have, this is where your federal structure comes into place. And the problem that we have is we want to blame everything on the center when we should be asking questions of the state and state governments. Okay, what is it that you're doing? Okay, how many Mumbaikars, and I will say this again, Mumbaikars actually get out on the street and go in front of the BMC office and say, what the hell are you doing? Zero. Zero. Then you deserve what you get, because you refuse to hold them to account. How many PILs have you guys filed in the last 10 years asking questions of the government? How many RTS? There are guys who do that, and kudos to them. They have the time, they have the effort, they go ahead and do it. There is nothing stopping you from doing it. But to sit and procrastinate and say, okay, no, 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 this is wrong. Arey, hold on, yaar, boss. There are multitudes of layers where you have to ask this question. So, in my definition, we have got the freedom today to at least ask ourselves these questions and challenge ourselves to do better. That is freedom to me. We have got the freedom to talk to each other openly over the net, sitting in different places, okay, and voicing our opinion within reason. Of course, every right comes with reasons. Freedom of speech is not absolute. Okay, there are restrictions. You can't be an absolutist. There are some people on this thing who say, I am a freedom of speech absolutist. Yeah, okay. You are entitled to your opinion, you are entitled to your freedom of expression, but the government also has the right to stop some of it. Okay. So you have a lot of freedoms. The problem that we have is we don't know how to protect them, and we don't know how to protect ourselves. And that to me is the real challenge of being an Indian today. Is one, we are an Indian who is still trying to define himself. Okay. And two, person who's trying to also understand where his place is in this world. Which is why this question comes about is, what does freedom actually mean to us? So
May you want to jump in?
you're on mute.
Last time we had a very serious talk, so let's make a little lighter conversation and a little more conspiracy based.
No, no, no. Arey, keep it.
I don't want to be serious today.
Okay.
So, did we really get freedom, or was it an act of or act passed in the Congress or Parliament of UK? Did we really get freedom? How do you declare freedom, first of all? How do you declare independence? What has happened is a proclamation of self rule, but does not mean independence, right? So, technically, did we really get independence? Secondly, for the love of God, Nehru was the Prime Minister of India since 1930, when he was elected as the head of the Constituent Assembly. So please, here, ye Patel and this stuff, let Nehru die a peaceful death. यार.
Camera off है.
बहुत मार बहुत मार लिया उसको.
Hey,
More important,
Nehru is responsible for our problems, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I don't want to get into the problems as such. I want to go back to the point on democracy versus others. Democracy, by definition, is a rule of the majority. So if you're expecting anything other than that, I don't think we're being wise. The whole concept of democracy is that the majority. What are the majority rules? Rules. So if you're getting that, then I don't know what else you're expecting.
Go
Um,
out and vote.
yeah, I
Uh,
have voted.
that's
So,
that's not the point. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
my point is coming back. Independence is something that comes in a society with its limits and constraints. If we don't constrain it, you will end up with anarchy. With everyone saying that okay, my fundamental right is I slap you. So just because we have limits and curbs on freedom does not mean we don't have independence. So technically, yes, we did get independence from the British. Now let's go back into history. Why do we keep claiming that we were never one country and all? You were still having allies, right? So doesn't mean that the country wasn't, just because one flag wasn't over the entire country doesn't mean that They weren't partnerships. So when the Guptas ruled and you had the Cholas or the Pandyas, etc., in the south, does not mean that they weren't allies. They were allies, right? So it was still under one emperor, right? Why does it have to be only when, if you see that way, the Adil Shahs and all were ruling in the south, and you had kings in Tamil Nadu and all were still there. Vijayanagar Empire was there. The Mysore Wadiyars were there. Does that mean that there was one nation at the time of the Mughals? Why we
No,
making it? Why we
no,
making
I
it?
think I think that's a good point. Both of you have raised it. I want to clarify that yes, it is. What I was saying was philosophically, or rather, even really agree that there was one land. That one landmass has a history, has a past, and was under different regimes, so to speak, but effectively
Correct.
considered each of them as one people that is there. It's just that the definition of freedom came with it. Uh, and even after that, it didn't. It took another 2 3 years of lot of fighting that and going into Hyderabad, telling the Nizam to fuck off, doing all of that to finally have a one consolidated country with one boundary under one law. I am just saying that that did not exist before. That's all I meant. I am not at all
Correct.
disputing that it was not one landmass. And that is why I said that for a period of time, and I want to add the Delhi Sultanate period also, which actually outlasts the Mughal period in terms of number of years, is actually my core point was that there is it is not just we were taught this, right, 200 years of British rule and then finding independence in 1857 when we said we no longer want to be under these foreigners. All of that is which which is true. And all of it is not untrue. It's just that there is also this aspect of saying that we we are and we always considered even the Mughals foreigners who had come and conquered, like Chaitanya said. Uh, that is a truth which I think is also not addressed. That we had to finally in 1947. And we'll talk about freedom and Babulnath has introduced this new thing, which we'll come to. But my core is to look at the back and orientation wise for Indians to say, by what did we gain? Because, okay, I think one aspect which I did not come up to was that at least 1,000 years of people, not 1,000 is too much, maybe 500 years of people who were not from this land were rulers of the people of this land. And they were taken as rulers. In some parts were not led by them. But for us to for us to be in this period, in the 78 years of this nation which is not under foreign rule, those guys would have probably would love to have lived here. And I think we don't sometimes don't recognize that that they all fought for it in different ways. They wanted it. At least the last 150 years of fighting was there. Those guys did not get to live to see this period. And I'm talking about acknowledging it somewhere and saying that also recognize that we have to overcome it mentally. So even the South Africans are no longer under white rule and not under apartheid, are finding it very difficult to adjust to this new period of time when they are ruling. It's finding it they are adjusting to it. It's still not completely done, which is why they have all this nonsense with the Boers and whatever else happened with the previous prime minister, even with Cyril Ramaphosa and all of that. It has not moved in the way it should have, even for them. So you can see that when you get independence, it's one thing to be independent. The other is to be able to psychologically move ahead. I think that that's one of the things that we have to address. That's what I was coming from. So I'm on board with the how we were and all of that. And I don't want to make it serious, but I felt that that is what we are sometimes not addressed. We just make it very specific about British. That's all I wanted to like address. Yeah, go ahead, Omen.
S-
Yeah, just one question. I just want to clarify. The topic we're trying to address is a colonial mindset that we have, finding ourselves in this new 78 years. What is the
It's both.
topic that you want to
It's
really
two things
focus on?
coming together: self-rule, not colonialism, but also we've never had self-rule, so we have to deal with how a democracy functions and actually be able to live within it. So an American democracy is 250 years old. They
Huh.
took their time to get to the place where they could use it. A British democracy or parliamentary democracy is over 300 years old. They know how to deal with it. We are very new to this. That's one of the things. But overall, to have a mindset that we had a lot of baggage, not just 200 years of British hegemony in the country. Both are true. That's what I'm saying. It's not one thing, but it came from the
so
point that Independence Day is marks a day of some two, three things that happened. At least these two things that happened. Yeah. Sorry. Chaitanya,
so
go.
one of the things to understand over here is what you said. We are a young democracy by a lot of I would say lot of definitions. About 75, 78 years of democracy. But as a civilization, the Indian civilization is well over thousands of years old. Okay. The reason why we have this, and I mentioned this last time also, we have a kind of self imposed inferiority complex within ourselves, okay, which comes from the historic colonizations that we have had and suffered, either at the hands of the Mughals or at the hands of the British. Okay, that colonial suppression and Islamic suppression that we suffered led to an identity crisis. This was then reinforced through our education systems,
Yeah.
okay, for the last 70 years. Okay, some of it the government is now trying to address and change. Kudos to
Which
them.
could be an overcorrection also.
It will be. See, Chanakesh, you have to understand. You had the pendulum swing one way, it will swing the other way before it has to come back to center. All
Yeah.
right, because that is the law of things. Okay, you push something so to the extreme. All right,
Can,
that it
can I
has
can
to
I
come.
quickly on that point mention one thing which always struck me, recently struck me. The only thing I read about Shivaji
Yeah.
when I growing up was that he uh, was captured and then he used a fruit basket to sneak out of captivity,
Yes.
or
See the
that he stabbed Afzal Khan in
exactly.
the back. The caricature of Shivaji is very,
Yes.
very interesting. Yeah.
Yes. So you have couple of things here that I want to say. One is the understanding of your own history and reclaiming it, which is necessary.
Hmm.
Okay, when you start to understand and recognize yourself and your roots, that will give you a stronger fill up to the democratic values that you aspire to now.
Hmm.
Okay, if you do not recognize yourself and you do not recognize who you are as a people and what are your core values, Okay, you won't get to that point wherein you will be able to correctly define who you
Hmm.
want to be. Okay, I don't know. I read it somewhere years ago. The present is like a child sitting on the shoulders of a giant called history.
Hmm.
Okay, the moment the present ignores the fact of history, that present is due to fall and get crushed. Okay, to a large extent. Okay, throughout the 70 odd years of independence, we have been groomed to study, to understand, to hear about books like Mahabharata and Ramayana as mythological epics. Heck, there is a place called Kurukshetra in UP. Indraprastha is supposed to be Delhi. Okay, you have all of these historical references available, but it's just ignored. Shivaji, one chapter in our history books, not even a full chapter, it's just one paragraph in a chapter, Other Kings. All right, you studied in ICSE, I studied in ICSE. You had 8 chapters on Mughal kings and rulers, but you had one chapter, you had one chapter on the Cholas, one paragraph. Okay, it was a subjugation of a whole section of your history, which is why you face an identity crisis today. Okay, when people will question every change, because that is not what they were taught.
Hmm.
Okay, even though there is historical references and proofs that this was done by these individuals, you were never taught it, because it was so and so the great, so and so the kind, so and so the benevolent. Arey boss, look at what they have actually done. They have written about it, they have claimed it. You just did not expose it, because there was a whole ecosystem that was built around keeping you from your history. Because if you studied your history truly as a student of history and student of what my ancestry is about, okay, you would question a lot more things. Okay, Mahatma Gandhi very, very clearly says in the Bhagavad Gita, you're taught to turn the other cheek and this and that. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjun was also taught to take arms against Bhishma and his family members in the protection of Dharma. Why that is the wrong and this is right? See, these are questions that we have never asked, or we have not been told that asking such questions also is wrong. Today, you and
No,
I
no.
can talk about this is purely because there is a right wing government out there that does not mind this conversation. Had it been a left wing government, we would not have had this conversation. Okay. So this is what is freedom. Freedom is not not just the right to express. Okay, but the right to express opinion. I can express an opinion that you may not like, but that does not give you the right to hit me or kill me.
No,
That is freedom of speech and freedom of expression. But
clearly MLS doesn't agree with you, but yeah, like it's that's fine.
see, again, that agree or not agree or disagree. These are two aspects of the same coin. Okay, but
So
the
agree to
ability
not
to
to violence. They don't agree. They think that boss kanpatat marayla lagel bag.
आता या ना मारा ना कोणी नाही
So
म्हटलंय. See,
that's what
it's
they said.
So, what we are getting at is system में कुछ खराबी है, ठीक है?
वो क्या
और उस
किसके खराबी सिस्टम मतलब as in the
सिस्टम मतलब
people government के
पीपल ने
government system.
जो सिस्टम बनाया हुआ है, ठीक है?
Hmm.
इन प्रिंसिपल तो है, वो राइटिंग में है, बट वो लॉ में, आई मीन इन प्रैक्टिस एक्चुअली हो रहा है कि नहीं, वो यही है ना प्रॉब्लम.
नहीं. सी, वो प्रॉब्लम है, सिस्टम का प्रॉब्लम है बाबुल. पर सिस्टम बदलेगा कौन? तुम और
हाँ
मैं
हाँ हाँ
जैसे ही
हाँ,
लोग ही बदलने गए.
तो वही ना, तो फर्स्ट
Oh,
लेट
I
अस.
think the problem is what Chaitanya said, and I think that's where the problem is, Babul. Freedom is only in your head. Okay, I'll give you an example. If you're sitting in a Mumbai train and you wish to have a loud conversation with a colleague or a person you're traveling with and say that I disagree with what MLS is doing in a particular time, in a particular, that I disagree. There's a freedom, what do you call it, enshrined that no one's supposed to be violent with you, regardless of what you said. But in that train, I remember people used to stop people from saying anything about Shiv Sena. Anything. I'm talking even as a child. We were not allowed to speak anything or utter the word Shiv Sena loudly in a train was not, in a bus was not a right thing to do. So it's all about how much you feel comfortable. It's all mind games. No one's telling me that they'll come and slap me or do something. But it's that feeling that I'm not free. So if you feel free, you are free. If you don't feel free, then boss, no matter how, I'll give you quickly. There is this thing that's happening right now in Singapore. You love Singapore, no? So I'll give you that example. Okay. Singapore, there is a Muslim population which is also significant, who are either Malays who are there, who are Muslim by ethnicity and by religion. They are standing and saying that they're asking Rajaratnam, who is a deputy prime minister, that you have to, and the government has to stand and say that what is being done by America and Israel against the Gazans is wrong, right? And diplomatically, Singapore has refused to take a stance. Okay, what they're doing is they're going to what they do is MP visits, where the MPs go and meet their constituents. These guys are going to each of those MP visits and shouting slogans and saying, "Ki, you guys are not listening to us. You guys are not doing what we want, which is you should stand with the Palestinians." Basically, they're doing that. All the freedom in the world, right? But it is ultimately there's going to be a crackdown against all these people. पहले सब बोलने को देगा उसके बाद उनको क्रैकडाउन होएगा. Doesn't make Singapore any less free, you know.
So the issue is we come back again to the same thing. Now, if you observe in nature, the most powerful one rules. Okay,
It's the Muslims are the
correct.
smallest group. The Chinese are the biggest group there.
That's what ना. So obvious है ना, कौन अभी कौन किसके किसके ऊपर भारी पड़ेगा, वो तो अभी तुम लोग समझ गए कौन किसके
So then
ऊपर
what is
भारी.
freedom? But the freedom नहीं है ना सिंगापुर में. You're agreeing?
हाँ, तो इफेक्टिवली वही हो गया ना. नेचर रूल टुक ओवर, राइट. Alpha Mike did have a hand raise, right? You had a point,
Yeah.
something, some point you raised.
No, I just wanted to say we might get struck if we don't see Shivaji Maharaj.
I
Uh,
know. I was speaking the colloquial
okay.
Shivaji. Shivaji the Bhosle.
Uh,
Not Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj.
okay.
So
So,
yeah, yeah.
coming there, and
Um,
I still come back to the same thing. The whole concept of democracy is the majority that you can cobble up. So, even though what we talk about, your minority that you're talking about, the organized nature of that minority ensures that you are outnumbered. So you
correct.
are talking about a local optimal, as optima
Yeah.
as we call it, not a
Yeah.
global optima. The global optima may allow you to come to power, but your local optima may ensure that what needs to be done at a local level does not get done. Coming back to another interesting point, um, do you realize that what the British essentially did was utilize the existing Indian system to rule India?
What are you saying? Like the caste based and the religion divides and all the different divides that were existing that way.
That's one point. So I'll give you three points here. One, by the time the Mughals came in and they were ruling a lot of India, and their subjects like the Shahis, Adil Shah, and all were ruling in the south. Um, they were virtually eliminating a lot of the caste system that was there
Hmm.
because they were forcing Islam onto the people. and making it costly to remain a Hindu. Um,
mm,
when the British came in, they realized that if they reintroduced the caste system based on your skin tone, they were the whitest.
mm,
They would be even above the Brahmins then.
mm,
And their rule, even though there were 75,000 as compared to the 3 crore Indians, they would be able to rule. The third important smart thing that they did was in the Indian administrative service before the British also, or before the Mughals, we had a concept of Patil and Kulkarni in a
mm,
village. The Patil was supposed to be the protector of the village, and the Kulkarni was the tax collector. What you
mm.
technically have today also as your collector and magistrate, district collector, district magistrate, is essentially a version of the same. Okay, so technically not much has changed. What you are expecting with the freedom or independence, a lot of it has remained the same till date. So the change that you expect with freedom has not come in. Okay, point number one. Point number two, if you look at a lot of the African countries today, they got their freedom, right? But what is happening? Civil war, right? They are no longer a country as such. Each country is breaking into smaller chunks.
But that's what that proves the point. No, I mean, they were never countries before either. They were all tribes.
Tribes,
Yeah,
right? So our nation surviving as one for so long
because there is a
is the
history. There was a history of being a people. I agree. That is the truth.
correct. But we haven't changed much from what we had. So a lot of our constitutions till the Bharat Nyaya Samhita came in, right? The new penal code and the new civil code.
Yeah,
Till
yeah.
then, we are still using archaic laws from 1857 and all also, right? So we were having those laws also still existing in our this thing, in our penal procedures and penal codes, etc. So, and even our constitution, a lot has been adopted from several other constitutions to make it one. So, technically, we are still in the colonial era by mindset. I'll give a small example. Uh, Manohar Parikar was hated by a lot of the military folks. And the prime reason was he took the guard of honor at a military parade, at a passing out day parade, in slippers. They said he has broken tradition.
Hmm.
What was the tradition? What was carried on from the colonial era? What the
Yeah,
Britishers had left them.
correct.
My point is, getting out of that mindset will take us a lot more generations. It won't be a overnight thing that will happen, right?
My point is
Those are
that
my
that
points.
exact example, what you said, not just that example, but that point. If we can only change what we recognize needs to change. If we don't recognize that that change is required, it'll just be that we don't know why we are. I think that the sense of identity which Chaitanya mentioned, you're saying that you're absolutely right. Constitution written in English, it is borrowed from UK and US constitutions and it's French constitutions. And the point is that a lot of it is just, borrowed, put together. But there are systems that we still understand, like you mentioned about the Kulkarni and the Patil, but there's also in UP, we still have the local, not the Zamindar, but the local Bahubali who will still be the man who will fix your problems for you. Or he is the man who decides what happens in the area, is how it's still continued because that's what they understand. So they're not able to move forward because that's what they know works. And that has worked probably even while the Mughals were going on, that in that village it still worked. Even when there was no Mughals, that's how it worked. So it is not like what is called the Hegdes were actually the village elder. who would be the main person, that main family would be the one who everyone would follow because they had some divine right to be leading us, and that goes generation to generation, and they have that. So that's what that is. I agree. All I'm saying is that perhaps there is a need for us to recognize that it wasn't such an easy thing saying that these guys were our rulers, now we've replaced them with ourselves and we're good. That's my point, that I want to say that we're not good. We have so much more to do. I think Chaitanya raised his hand. Go ahead, Chaitanya.
Just one point before
Yeah,
that, if you don't mind.
yeah,
All
yeah.
kings rule by divine right.
That's true. That's my point. That's what. Again, all
Right.
these
Go ahead.
words. I had this one discussion, which actually was a very core. We are also doing this whole conversation in English. The reality is that some concepts are English by the nature of the language we use, but which is why our texts are never understood in its entirety if we read it in the English translation. Because, and I remember making the analogy that like reading the Bhagavad Gita, and it can be read in Indian languages. It doesn't have to be read in Sanskrit only, but reading it in Indian languages is like eating noodles with a chopstick, as it's supposed to be. Or when you try to eat noodles with a spoon, is how you will do it if you try to read the Gita or the other texts in English. You will get something, but it is not how it is supposed to be eaten, and you will not get it completely. Anyway, yeah, Chaitanya.
So, as Amay put it eloquently, and you also espoused on it, we are at a very, as I said, nascent stage of our democracy. But to recognize ourselves and to recognize what needs to be changed, a lot more things need to happen, and a lot more changes need to be brought in. So when I hear these people, Constitution Bachao, all right, I ask myself, what are you actually trying to save? This is an evolutionary document that is bound to change. It was made in the 1950s by people who were educated by the British, who went to the British colleges, who used the tenets, yes, a lot of them from this thing. And all due respect to every single one of them who helped frame the Constitution, it's a beautiful document. But that doesn't mean that a document cannot evolve.
It is not sacred.
Correct. But when you make it out that, okay, no, you're changing the constitution, hold on, the constitution has to change. That's why we have the Lok Sabha. That is why we have the Rajya Sabha. It has to go through that process. It is an evolutionary document. It has to evolve. It has to take into consideration both our heritage as well as our future thought process. Why did you have the Tada Act, and why did you have the Pota Act, and why do you have how many new acts that have been brought in? Why? Because it was the need of the hour. Okay, you did change the constitution, right? Why is it such a problem now? The problem now is that you have a, two forces working against each other in society right now, each trying to put forth their vision of a nation. If you talk to certain individuals in the Indira Congress, you will realize that they focus on words rather than the meaning of the sentence. Okay, they want to keep it for their electoral basis. You talk to the BJP, they have got a different approach to things, slow but methodical. They wait for years and years together for the, how do you say, the curd to be churned. Okay, and they'll keep it on a slow boil. And then while you're going salivating, "Are, give me the ghee," they will finally pass it in parliament. Okay, this takes about 4 to 5 years. Take example, farm laws. Most states have already implemented those farm laws. It doesn't require the center. Okay. You have certain things that will go wrong. You got UCC that is coming in certain states now. Okay, you will get it. It just takes time. Why does it take time? Because changes like this need the society to come along, need the society to evolve, to be accepting of certain facts, to be accepting in principle to the concept of uniformity. We are so busy trying to find differences amongst each other, all right, that we forget that at the source we are all Bharatiyas. Okay. Yes, some of us could be from North India, some of us could be from South India. We are all Bharatiyas. Okay. And that recognition of being a Bharatiya is as much true as it is being an Indian. So
Hmm.
we have to go forward defining who we are and who we want to become. But
Hmm.
if we have to define that, we have to recognize ourselves first. And the problem that we have today, even when we are having this conversation, is we have very little understanding about who we are as a people.
Hmm.
And if we get to those cores as a people, okay, we will realize. Now, for example, I'll give you an example. There's this whole community in UP
Hmm.
and all that were famous for making guns.
Hmm.
Okay, why we do not encourage them to make armaments? We have for the longest times avoided that like a plague.
Hmm.
Okay, they were passionate. Rahul Gandhi says, "Oh, all the guns are made by Lohars in Japan." Are you had that whole community? You killed it practically. They make kattas. You encourage them. That's what this government is trying to do by doing Atmanirbhar Bharat and all of these things. Is trying to bring that out. Okay, so you have freedoms, but freedom has got a price to pay with it. And that is what is most important, is the price that we are going to have to pay over the next 10 to 30 years. Okay, which I don't think we as a people are ready for. Okay, we are at a very critical juncture in our history. We better start recognizing who we are and what we can do, putting aside our petty differences. Okay, because believe me, blows are coming, and I can see it happening. You already got NATO giving you threats. You got the Americans giving you veiled threats. Okay. You got China playing naughty. You got Pakistan on the edge. You got Bangladesh on one side threatening with God knows what. Okay. Maybe they'll just mass infiltrate into West Bengal. But I don't know. You have a lot of issues. So you better start recognizing who you are as a people. Because that is one of the fundamental requirements of being an Indian, is to recognize who you are. If you don't recognize who you are getting ready for being balkanized very soon.
Yeah, but I think when I read and this revelation came to me after reading the book, which I don't think you will like the authors, India After Gandhi by Ramchandra Goa. So what I really appreciate about it, the first few chapters deals in the immediate aftermath of the independence. And what I loved about it is that at that point in time, not a single country in the world, not a single political party or a political leader gave this experiment of this new country, India, a shot. The odds were completely against this country surviving. To not only survive, but to make it to 78 years of democracy and have peaceful transition of power every single time. And we've got tons of, periods of time where it was just election 5 years, election 5 years, election 5 years, except for the period between 1996 and maybe 99. That 3 years of turmoil If you leave that out, we can go all the way back to
Or even
the
in the
nine.
80s.
Yeah. So right through the 80s, only in and okay, 80s there was a bit of back and forth with that 87 period. But if you look at the in a larger period of time, even the last 50 years, it has been a very much a peaceful transition of power. And things have moved, things have happened, states have been formed. We've had a lot of things move. Democratically, everything has worked. Whether we like the constitution or we have questions on it, it has happened in that. And so my point is, at the very core, even we don't give ourselves credit for, as a people, we've survived this. Yes, it's a project is much longer. It's not so quick to finish right now. But it is. I think but you said that there are balkanization. I think that the core of it is that everyone understands at the end of it, we are better only if we are together. That no one part of this country can split off on its own and manage its affairs. I think there is that feeling that and that's also a very cultural thing for India. I think we feel comfortable together, even though we don't may not like each other. At the end of the day, we will be together only because we just comfortable now. That's my take on it. But Babul, you've not spoken as much, so I want to bring you in. Babul, go ahead.
So about Africa, actually countries are actually doing well now. If you
Which
check
one?
what
Name five.
name five, there are 12 countries which are more than India GDP PPP. So
See यार तू numbers पे जाता है. Five. ये मेरे को five बता तू जो तेरे को लगता
Botswana.
है.
So
What's the
so uh,
what's the
so
capital क्या है?
so बोट्सवाना का कैपिटल मेरे को चेक करना पड़ेगा.
किसी को नहीं मालूम क्योंकि it's not an important country. Next one.
Then obviously Seychelles, Mauritius,
Seychelles.
Equator,
Seychelles, Mauritius countries है. More. Next one.
South Africa, Libya,
South
Egypt.
Africa is doing well. Libya is doing well. My conversation's over. Sorry.
Hey, what are you smoking, man? Seriously, pass me some.
Seriously. लिबिया में ओपन स्लेव मार्केट्स है बाबुल क्या बात करता है तुम यार तुम नंबर्स देख रहा है मैंने
नंबर्स
नंबर्स क्या
देख रहा
है
हूँ ना.
लिबिया
इजिप्ट
का नंबर
इजिप्ट
क्या है
इजिप्ट
एंड
इंडिया का
प्रूव्स इट प्रूव्स दैट द नंबर्स आर ऑल बुलशिट लिबिया में गवर्नमेंट नहीं है बाबुल क्या बात करता है तुम
अरे तू तेरे को फाइव चाहिए था ना. वो लिबिया को छोड़, दूसरा भी है. अल्जीरिया है.
अल्जीरिया में क्या है
मोरक्को.
अल्जीरिया कैपिटल क्या है
मोरक्को. Algiers is the capital. Anyway,
सॉरी
it's like if you see the documentaries and how these guys are taking their nations up, like what is happening is in those countries they're using now the natural resources and trying to get the country up instead of trying to loot the country, which is the case in
बॉस हैव
other
यू सीन व्हाट
countries.
हैपेंड इन केन्या and they tried to build a train. The Chinese, your favorite Chinese people, went to build a train track
See, I'm
in
not
Kenya.
I'm no, I'm not pro China or something, but the fact is that they have invested so much, so heavily, and they are making inroads in and
What?
grab those.
No, what makes you
Uh,
say we are not investing heavily?
Yeah,
we are
man.
making treaties and all, na. Where we are investing? Are
No,
we
no,
investing?
no. So that's the whole point. Now you've got. We were recently we were talking about Modi's visit to Cyprus.
Yeah.
All right, Cyprus has just done $100,000 investment or something. It's not big, but into your maritime area, shipbuilding. Okay, it's you're doing a deal with Namibia. You have gone to Trinidad and Tobago. You're doing treaties there. The concept of your treaties is different from the concept of Chinese treaties. The concept of your treaties is what you're going to in Namibia. You're going to set up your pharmaceutical units also. Okay, in India also your treaties are similar, wherein they say you make for India and you make for the world, but you make in India. Okay, same way you're going to Namibia. You say, okay, you want a train, I will build you a train. You use it. Say you're doing the same thing. Afghanistan. Why are you going to Afghanistan? Rare earths. You're doing all of this. It's just that it's not openly publicized unless you go down and read the stuff in the fine print. Okay.
No, but I think Ameya also want to jump in on this 5 countries. Ameya, go ahead.
No, more than the five countries, the funniest one was Libya.
Yeah, man.
I thought he was just bamboozled by the female bodyguards who will
Exactly.
still be around.
Yes. I completely concur.
Where did you
Gaddafi's
get the
female
Libya
bodyguards were the
number?
ones who had you bamboozled. Next, you'll tell us Syria's GDP is growing faster than
नहीं
India
नहीं नहीं
at 15%.
नहीं नहीं check Botswana if you want to check.
Arey
Check
boss, look at the size of Botswana, man.
अरे भाई तुमको डेमोक्रेसी भी चाहिए तुमको ये भी चाहिए क्या बोलता है क्या दूसरा साइज भी
Wait,
चाहिए सेम सेम पॉपुलेशन चाहिए वो तो मुश्किल है ना हाँ
हाँ तो मुश्किल है ना, तो कंपैरिजन भी मुश्किल है.
एक मिनट एक मिनट एक मिनट एक मिनट सब लोग
Yeah.
see take the point it is making and let's not argue on the technicalities of it. Like we said,
I'm not,
numbers are
but you
full.
cannot. But Botswana
No,
is not.
no, you can't let that fly.
नहीं ऐसे नहीं you can't attack him all the time.
I'm not
Here's the
attacking.
point.
Luxembourg is the richest country in the world, but is it
Correct.
really the richest country in the world?
It is
नहीं
a
नहीं नहीं
monarchy, by
यार
the way, right?
अरे भाई वही वही मैं previous point was like we are using some metrics which are we will never be able to find we don't want China as a competitor because it's not having a democracy. We don't want when we check a democracy then the size matters. ऐसा करके निकल रहे हैं ना हम
नहीं
लोग.
नहीं 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 नहीं
नहीं
बाबुल,
कोई
I
निकलने का
think
कोशिश नहीं
निकलने का
कर रहा
नहीं
है.
है. See, it is.
हाँ
I 1 minute.
हाँ
I'm not saying that what Babul's premise is wrong. Okay, you're right. So we have to hold true to some metrics and some comparatives. You're right. Okay, but look at it holistically, is what we are saying. Okay, do not just do a flat out comparison between A and B. Okay, that comparative has got other sub metrics also that you should look at. Okay, just looking at GDP or just looking at PPP as two numbers is not going to help you. Okay, look at the size. For example, now I'll just complete my analogy. Today, let's say Syria is going into become the best democracy in the Middle East. All right, that country is completely smashed. All right, so when you're starting from zero, your growth rate is going to be higher. Whereas if you compare to the US, so you'll say Syria is doing better than the US because they are getting a 7.5, 8.5% growth rate, and US has got 1% or 0.5%. So you have to look at things in their entirety and totality rather than just a metric. So don't reduce India to a metric. That's what I'm trying to get at.
So that's why I took Botswana. No? They got their independence in '68. Okay, and they were totally like the whole thing was there was just 12 miles of road. That's all. And from there they've come up and they've crossed us now, as far as that metric goes. So that's strange, right?
I think another metric. I was thinking about your point on metric. My point is the only true game that you can win on is the infinite game that you play with yourself, which means that you compare your former self every year or every 5 years ago, where were you, and are you seeing growth or momentum or not? And you compare only to yourself, only because what is true to India and its challenges and its issues and its good and its bad, it's not comparable, and you have to judge. You're basically saying, how do we judge ourselves? Or if you're saying, no, listen, we have other countries to look at to learn from, we definitely we can learn from. But you can't say that they've done it better and we've done it worse, is my only point of conflict here.
So the issues that are there, that's my again the point that is being raised now. The same issues were there in those other countries also.
How can it be same issues,
अरे
Babulnath? If they're
भाई
not, they have their
सेम
own issues.
अरे वही वही तो premise है ना पूरा करप्शन
क्या
उधर भी था, इधर भी है।
करप्शन तो यूएस में भी है, लेकिन दे आर द रिचेस्ट कंट्री इन द वर्ल्ड। क्या बात करते हो तुम?
अरे भाई, बट वो करप्शन इस लेवल का है क्या? इस लेवल
ओ
का,
ऑफ कोर्स,
लोअर लेवल पे
करप्शन
जाके
इज
करप्शन।
हाईएस्ट लेवल का करप्शन है, लोएस्ट
ज्यादा
लेवल में
है।
भी करप्शन है।
अरे क्या
अरे
बात
क्या
करते
बात
हैं
कर,
यार।
वहां पे पब्लिक, वहां पे म्युनिसिपल लेवल में भी कर, यू सेइंग वन सेकंड,
म्युनिसिपल
योर
लेवल पे
कंटेंशन इज
अंडर द टेबल चलता है
करप्शन
क्या
नहीं है, यू सेइंग?
भाई?
नो नो,
ऐसा
यू सेइंग नहीं है। नो नो नो, आई जस्ट हियर आंसर क्वेश्चन। यू थिंक म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन लेवल पे वहां पे करप्शन नहीं होता है, दैट्स योर पॉइंट?
अरे भाई, लोअर लेवल पे करप्शन नहीं है ना उधर, इसलिए तो
No,
नहीं
no,
तो
no, no.
कैसे
No, no. Answer my question. Do you think a ward officer is not corrupt in the US?
आई डोंट थिंक सो।
They are.
That
Because
is
they
the
don't
lie
take
you
money
have been
from the
sold.
people.
अरे बट
They
बिकॉज
don't take
बिकॉज
money
आवर
from
गाइज
people.
आर
They
देयर
take
ना।
money from businesses. They take money from businesses. They take money from local people. They do other ways of corruption, boss.
ओके,
Okay,
ये
Babul,
तो
I'm going to just give you 2 points over here to consider. Okay, within this last 15 years, okay, you had the creation of something called as the Aam Aadmi Party. Do you remember? Okay, the leader of the said party actually went to the extent of calling everybody extremely corrupt. Okay, you had a certain Congress leader recently call Lallu Prasad Yadav a convicted person of corruption by the courts of India, equal to Bhagat Singh. All right, this is how lopsided your determination factors are. Okay, Lallu Prasad Yadav is equal to Bhagat Singh.
so what is your point here?
My point is, you have to look at India on a spectrum of challenges. I know corruption is a problem. Corruption is a problem everywhere, whether it be from the lowest strata of society to the highest echelons of power. Okay, and it is the same across the board wherever you go. The only difference that you are not seeing it doesn't mean it is not there. It is there in a different form.
So,
Okay,
so the issues that which are coming out now are really weird, na? Because the bridges are falling and
yeah,
highways.
one bridge fell.
वन ब्रिज क्या गुजरात में गया, फिर बिहार में गया।
हाँ,
और हाँ तो
तो गए होएगा ना।
अरे अरे
बबल,
पब्लिक,
हम
हाँ।
हमारे बिल्डिंग में नया टाइल्स लगाया है फ्लोरिंग पे। ओके, फ्लोरिंग खत्म नहीं हुआ है एक साइड पे, दूसरी साइड पे जब काम खत्म हुआ था वो टाइल टूट गया ऑलरेडी।
so so
Corruption is
so
happening in
so
a private entity also.
so
Corruption
so,
happens everywhere.
so that's the thing now, when
See,
But I am
basic
explaining to you, no, my point is, if corruption is holding you back, how do you explain America? Explain that to me.
हाँ अमेरिका, you
We
are
just
saying
looked up.
every if that was the level of corruption, our guys would have reported it, na? Our guys who are there in America.
You are saying that? No, I'm saying, okay, if your corruption is only defined as मैं 500 रुपए देगा तो मेरे को पुलिस मेरे को चालान नहीं भरेगा, that's your corruption level. That's the only corruption you'll accept.
No.
Then that,
Every
then
kind of corruption would have been reported, right? Like they are taking
should I just
kickbacks
send
from.
you right now? Southern District of New York just
You're cutting
convicted
off. You're
176
cutting off.
cases. They just in Manhattan they just have 176 cases in the last 1 year of corruption convictions.
Yeah. So the same thing won't happen over here, right? How many
Huh?
convictions happen over here? Nothing,
And
na?
these are just convictions. Bloody,
Are something is happening right over there.
I don't
Babul,
understand your point,
no,
man.
Babul,
Corruption
see,
happening.
No.
Answer the question. Corruption happening. Conviction मतलब corruption happened. No.
हाँ तो हमारे इधर किधर क्या कितने केसेस चल
एक
रहे हैं
सेकेंड
वैसे?
फर्स्ट एक्सेप्ट कर कि हुआ करप्शन हुआ यूएस में नहीं
चलो
होता है
ओके।
everywhere. मोस्ट वेल्दी कंट्री इन द वर्ल्ड पे करप्शन होता है, करेक्ट? आपका लॉजिक कि करप्शन जहां पे नहीं होता है वहां पे वेल्थ होता है फेल हो गया।
ऐसा कैसे?
अरे
Let me
मैं
let me
आपको लॉजिक दिया ना अभी। करप्शन जहां पे होता है वहां पे भी वेल्थ होता है। करेक्ट है। They're not mutually exclusive. Corruption and wealth can
So
go
the
together.
scale you're also not taking na now. You're
अरे
taking a you're taking a subset and you're equating to everyone.
Okay, Babul. What
now you're saying
he's
scale. Up to now you said it should be no scale and all of that. Now you're saying scale.
asking.
So
No, no, no.
you
For
love your
this
own argument. Tell me scale okay.
problem, I'm saying now.
Oh, for this
Not
problem, scale is important. Okay, Botswana. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Babul. I want to talk about the
Sorry,
primary
Ameya
point you
also
said.
speak. Huh? Let
Yeah,
Ameya also speak. He's been wanting to raise his hand.
Ame, go ahead if you want to go ahead. I will hold my point till later on. Maybe you'll
Okay,
speak about this.
so I just wanted to ask a simple question. We said Botswana is doing really well.
Hmm.
Is there no corruption in Botswana?
so.
Question.
So that's the thing now. What happens in Africa is they usually loot the whole resources
सवाल
for a
सवाल सवाल ये है कि बोट्सवाना में करप्शन है या नहीं?
बोत्सवाना में है या नहीं, वो एक्चुअल फिगर्स चाहिए ना मुझे अभी वो।
है
It is
चल
43rd
यूटोपियन
globally
सेकंड. हाँ,
on a scale of Transparency International.
ठीक
ओके।
है. सेकंड,
Hmm.
बोट्सवाना में इतना प्रोग्रेस हो रहा है,
हम्म,
अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट कितना है?
चेक करना पड़ेगा मुझे, जस्ट होल्ड ऑन।
23%. इंडिया
तू
में
किया
कितना
है
है?
वो सब तो सिर्फ हाँ बोल।
इंडिया में 5.1% है. तो कौन सा देश बेहतर है? सो हर मैट्रिक एक ही मैट्रिक पे पकड़ के अपन ने मार सकते रे घोड़े को. अपने को सर्वांगीण विकास देखना है ना. अपने को एक ही जगह पे विकास नहीं देखने का है ना. विकास पाटिल के घर में भी हो सकता है, विकास पाठक के घर में भी हो सकता है. सबके घर में विकास चाहिए ना अपने को.
लेट मी
तो
चेक ऑन
मेरा
ऑल
point-
द मैट्रिक्स ना देन।
हाँ, कर रही सब चेक कर. मेरा पॉइंट ये है ना कि why we keep saying ना स्केल देख, साइज देख, क्योंकि एक चीज में तो एक प्रोग्रेस देख सकता है रे. अब लीबिया का एग्जांपल ले. लीबिया में सबसे गोल्डन पीरियड कब था? जब गद्दाफी था. डिक्टेटर वाज इन पावर. डिक्टेटर ने करप्शन नहीं किया क्या? डिक्टेटर ने करप्शन किया. डिक्टेटर ने बाकी का सब नॉनसेंस किया नहीं किया? सब किया. उसके बाद टुडे व्हाट आर यू सीइंग? लीबिया इज गोइंग डाउन. Correct? So do not, just because you're seeing the figures on certain metric very nice, does not generalize it to be only good, right?
But did you take only because they are high on HDI, Human
हाँ,
Capital Index,
मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ कि वो जो
लिटरेसी रेट,
यूटोपिया.
लिटरेसी रेट पे भी हाई है वो लोग।
कौन सा कंट्री का बात कर रहे हैं?
बोट्सवाना
बोट्सवाना की
भाई,
बात कर रहा है। He is now doing a
बोट्सवाना,
film piece on Botswana.
सब
हाँ,
सब देख रहा हूँ। आई कैन सेंड और यू
करेक्ट.
कैन पुट इट इन ग्रॉक ओनली एंड जस्ट सी ना।
Yeah, we're doing
हाँ,
it on
हाँ,
Grok. We're using all AI tools. Go ahead.
करेक्ट.
I'm going to talk about my last points on this topic. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to lead into it with what Babu said. Bridges are falling down. Yeah, bridges are being built. Bridges will fall. Okay. If you don't build something, it won't break. This is the typical communism. Oh, there's no bridge only, so what will it break? Like what? It will happen. There will be accidents. Okay, like I was in a car accident years ago in college. I had one of my uncle. If it's a car, there will be an accident. Eventually, it's the law of averages. You can't hold that against not building a bridge. Saying if I build a bridge, maybe the contractor was corrupt, maybe the politician was corrupt, maybe everybody is corrupt, so I won't build a bridge. No, you have to build a bridge. Okay. There are chances things will go wrong. There are chances you will suffer because of it. But that is the pangs of growing up. When you're growing up, our mill teeth fall, new teeth come in. You say, oh, no, 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 because my milk tooth will fall, I will not brush my teeth. Come on. You shall brush your teeth, right? So development will have challenges. We have a lot of work still to do before we can truly claim, one, that we are free both in the head and society. Two, most importantly, we have to recognize who we are to be truly free.
Great point.
Okay. There will be
Yeah, yeah.
challenges.
हमें को बात करने दो फिर उसके बाद बाबुल, you have to move yeah from this whole numbers piece seriously. नहीं तो ये बात हो
So,
ही नहीं
so,
पाएगा.
what to
हाँ.
do if it loops on the same point?
No, the problem is not that you bring it to the same point. You're like मेरे को GDP चाहिए बढ़ाने का है और वो बताया ना सबीर भाटिया का point GDP के बारे में. You're not listening only. Anyway, yeah, I think Amay last point and let's close it. Yeah.
Right. So again, I liked what Akshay just said. किया तो तभी प्रॉब्लम आएगा, नहीं किया तो प्रॉब्लम आएगा ही नहीं. So
Right.
I yes, everything will take time. We are again looking at China. I like it. We are looking up and we are seeing what they are doing and we are trying to replicate a lot of it. So it's a good thing. It will take time. We'll get there. But to say that just because we are not there yet doesn't mean we're not doing anything, I don't think that's a fair assessment. That's just
Yeah.
my point.
But one thing on the bridge part, I want to because I don't want to let it go. There is no proof that the bridge fell because people skimmed on the way the engineering of that bridge had happened. That the materials were skimmed off, or people did not made money off of the bridge and the bridge fell. The easiest example of this actually is not so much about that. It's our nonsense system of L2 billing, L1 bidding, and the delays that happen. It's a policy problem where we start the project at X cost. We ask the supplier to do it at L1, and then which is the lowest bid, and then we delay the actual construction by so long that the cost mount, and ultimately the person has to start figuring out how to do quickly and all of that, and then these things happen. Doesn't happen all the time, but it's not always corruption bubble. It's not always कि ये corruption की वजह से ये हुआ है.
So to go to the next level, we will have to cross these bridges first, na. I'm not
अरे
saying
वो
the
bridge
bridge,
टूट गया.
not the bridge, man. These things will have to be crossed first before we jump onto the next level.
No, the
Even
first point is to say who are you. I think we should end with that. Who are you at the very end? The core of it. कौन है तुम? इंडिया में है, भारतीय है कौन? उसके बाद हम लोग बनाएगा, ब्रिज बनाएगा, फिर टूटेगा नहीं तभी.
I
Okay,
guess so.
we have to call it a close. It's 15 minutes over, but thank you so much for doing it, guys. We'll connect with something a little bit more fun next time. I may choose something nice next
Hey,
time,
no
please.
fun, no
Okay.
fun, no fun, no fun. I'll choose.
Okay, chalo. Bye. Good night, guys.
Yeah,
Okay,
see.
guys, good night. Bye.